The meeting can now begin.
Thank you. I'll call this meeting to order at 12:34 p.m. And I'll start off with the territorial land acknowledgement. Before our meeting gets underway, I would like to formally recognize the traditional keepers of this land and specifically our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation with a formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman is located on the Mississauga Anishinaabe territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. The Township of Alnwick-Haldeman respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none. Approval of the agenda is item 4. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular council session of Thursday, September 15th, 2022 be approved as circulated. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Phil. Second, Councillor Hogg. All in favor? Carried. We have a delegation today. It's a delegation from Jim Corcoran, owner of St. Anne's Spa, and it's regarding short-term rental accommodations. And if I can have a mover from council to approve the speaker. Mike, second. Deputy Mayor Gibson, all in favor? Carrie, do you want to come up, Jim, to the mic? Thank you.
Your worship, members of council, members of staff, thank you for taking time to hear me today. I apologize in advance. The male side of my family has something called quiver lip. It's when we get very passionate about an issue, my top lip will start to quiver and it will sound like I'm about to cry. It's also nervousness in front of public, but in this particular case, I can tell you that I read this bylaw and the FAQ, and it left me in a state of paralysis. I was absolutely horrified that in this environment, this council would approve this bylaw, and I'll tell you why. Just in terms of background, this morning, a neighbor of mine, James Gravett, who lives on Clouston Road, is dealing with the residual of his mother's estate, who passed away in August. I've known the Gravetts for years. I bought property for them. And as we sat down to chat, he told me one of the stories he remembers is when his parents first moved to Grafton, they were asked to attend a meeting called by the Wilmers and the Allens, neighbors of ours in the 80s. The meeting's purpose was to oppose the Corcoran plan to build tennis courts on their 200-acre property. The Allens felt, and I remember Dr. Allen told me this himself, that the noise of the tennis ball going over the net would disturb his peaceful enjoyment of the countryside. Needless to say, the campaign to stop the Corcorans from building the tennis courts failed, or the campaign failed. But it's odd that that's one of the impressions that was left with this now retiring Toronto police officer, is that meeting that he went to where his dad said on the way out of the meeting, "My God, what's happening to our world?" As a short-term rental business owner, I can tell you there are two reasons that people, or as you may know them as ratepayers or taxpayers, get into short-term rental. One is because they want to share a piece of their piece of paradise with other less fortunate people, or because they need to for financial reasons. A touch of my sarcastic wit is going to be expressed to you in the form of the pros that I find in this bylaw. First of all, this bylaw is great in that it extinguishes the potential for private short-term rental accommodation to compete with my business. Yay, team. Extinguish competition in the marketplace. Because I can't imagine any small homeowner just starting out deciding to go through this process to rent out some rooms or their home to somebody who's less fortunate. This bylaw also is great in that it prevents the possibility of any person in today's market without access to vast amounts of capital from purchasing a home in this township, thus driving up home prices. This bylaw is also great because it is one more way to keep poor people out of our community, just as we can see the town of Coburg is successfully moving forward to try and keep people of color and people who have less means than people who can own lakefront property or enjoy living in a community like this from coming out here for a day to enjoy the beach or fish in the lake or go to St. Anne's. This bylaw is great and it demonstrates for everyone this council's willingness to use a sledgehammer to kill a mosquito, thus discouraging new homeowners or entrepreneurs from moving into this township. Like I said, I am aghast at the extent that you've gone to extinguish this harmless, virtually harmless, nothing's harmless in this world, but this very low risk business in our community. The cons, much longer list and not sarcastic in nature. This bylaw creates an uneven playing field for home occupation businesses. No other business owner operating out of their home is subjected to this process and cost of operating. My neighbor has a home business refinishing furniture out of her garage. She spends the day sanding furniture. If I was the kind of neighbor that would object to somebody enjoying our countryside through a bed and breakfast experience, I would complain about how annoying that sanding is, just as the Wilmers complained about the annoying tennis court balls. The red tractor, I go there for corn, as I'm sure many of you do, and fresh vegetables. Causes me to stop on Highway 2 and make a right into their driveway. Edge of the woods. Just check on Facebook Marketplace and you'll find hundreds, if not thousands, of small businesses operating out of their homes, generating income, and ultimately creating new jobs and opportunities and reasons to come to Haldimand Township. But they play by a different set of rules. They don't have to fill out a form. They don't have to pay the township money. They don't have to have Daryl come and inspect their business. They just operate as we have for years in this township. Also sends a strong signal to that this municipality does not support grassroots tourism, driving business to surrounding municipalities. If this survives this council, there'll be a red circle around this township indicating that this is not a place to stay overnight for a short-term rental to experience Rice Lake, Lake Ontario, St. Anne's, or the rolling hills of Northumberland or the Northumberland Forest. It will drive that business to other townships and other municipalities that quite frankly have more amenities than we have on offer here in Alnwick-Haldimand. It adds a tremendous workload to an already overburdened building inspector. As a frequent user of the building department, I know the amount of work that Daryl has on his plate and that Jennifer has ahead of her to work with the growth plan for this community. It definitely is an infringement on the rights of private property owners. On top of inflation and high interest rates, this bylaw adds yet another barrier to home ownership. Some of you may know my nephew, Chris, who built a house in Vernonville with the intention of either having a live-in suite for his parents or a bed and breakfast to offer accommodation for people attending Whispering Springs. He was visited by the building inspector for a final inspection and reminded that if he considered putting this into a bed and breakfast pool, he would be shut down. It does nothing to address the potential for conflict that invariably arises between neighbors with different lifestyles, different backgrounds, different political points of view, different ideas of how to enjoy this great township. It will drive the short-term rental business underground. It pits one neighbor against another. It spends sparse municipal tax revenue regulating an industry that is already self-regulated. Airbnb is one of the success stories of the internet that does a great job of regulating not only the renters, but the homeowners. Forces homeowners who are financially strapped into the horrors of long-term tenancies unique to Ontario. Any of you have ever rented a home to a long-term tenant and then tried to end that tenancy? Or had a tenant who didn't just decided to stop paying rent, or a tenant who trashed your building? You'll know what I mean by the word horrors. I can't think of a worse business to be in than long-term rentals. And yet you're forcing new homeowners into that situation. Strangely enough, it caught me, the single largest employer, the single largest tourism operator, and the single largest short-term renter in the township, and many other stakeholders completely by surprise. I thought you might have reached out to consult with me, given that I bring 40,000 guests a year to this township. But I had to hear this from other people months after it was passed. And it also affects me now because I bought a house in Grafton and thought I had some options in terms of what I could do with that house, but those options have been reduced significantly. It supports the concept of NIMBYism to the extreme. St. Anne's would never have survived the ire of the concerned neighbors back in the 80s if this council had been in power. Dr. Allen and the Wilmers would have had their wish, which was to see that building fall into the ground as it had started to before we came along and rescued it. Today, St. Anne's brings 40,000 short-term renters to this municipality every year. This influx of tourists has benefited the municipality and its residents in countless ways. Many have bought homes here. Many return here to experience the many other virtues of this beautiful rural, agri-based lakefront community, and many support local businesses. Many of our guests choose to stay at a local B&B, sometimes to save money, sometimes because we're full, and sometimes because they are looking for a unique and more personal experience with the B&B operator. I'm sure if you look at B&B ads, a lot of them say close to St. Anne's for that reason. Short-term rentals are the saplings in a forest of a tourism positive economy. Prohibiting new short-term rentals and over-regulating existing short-term rentals will extinguish any future growth in tourism for years to come. It's how we got our start. It's how many other small hoteliers got their start, is by renting out a few rooms in a home that they couldn't afford, which was our case. What if my neighbor is a gossip and a busybody, or a racist or a homophobe? Are you going to give me the same remedies that you've given someone who doesn't like someone having a backyard party that goes past 9 o'clock? I don't think so. I respectfully request that this council rescind this draconian piece of prohibition. A sensible alternative, in my view, would be to provide the legal and financial framework for an Alnwick Haldeman Business Improvement Organization to further self-regulate business development through positive mentoring and education, as opposed to bureaucratically heavy, punitive, unenforceable, overreaching regulation by overburdened municipal staff, politicians, and nosy, jealous, self-serving neighbors. Alternatively, you could tone it down, remove the barriers to entry, and stick to more pressing issues like long-term planning, access to affordable housing, roads, sewers, and protecting green space, something I thought my council was elected to do. Well, I'm here to tell you, while I'm here, I'd like to close by telling you how I felt during the government's response to COVID-19. You can't begin to imagine what it has been like for me, my family, my staff, and my customers during 2 years of harassment by government officials, lockdowns, mandates, public shaming, and near financial ruin. Where were all of you during this time of crisis? I certainly didn't feel like you had my back. Perhaps you were busy working on this bylaw to present as we started to come out of COVID, to constrain, regulate, and kill off an important plank in our fledgling tourism industry. Be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thanks, Jim. I'm sorry you feel the way you do, and listening to you, I certainly see your side of it from the business point and all the work you've done. And perhaps council will make the decision, or, you know, as we hear from more people, that this has to be reviewed. But I did a little bit of homework. And my understanding is that your business allows for you to buy small or homes for the purpose of your business and have Airbnbs. And also that you're considered a home occupation. And the concept originally with the St. Anne's business was little villages. So people were coming to enjoy the country life, your guests. And that that's in your site plan. And it's in the bylaw. It's either in the bylaw that you can still buy homes within a 2 or 3 mile radius that would be attached to your business. So you may buy one that needs rezoning just because of the zoning it's in. But from my understanding is they can still be added to your business because of the fact of what was done when you first started. It's probably about 30 years old. And do you by any chance have that bylaw, a copy of that bylaw or that resolution? And if not, we should be looking for it as well, because I was told it's either a resolution in the minutes, so it would have gone back to the 80s or early 90s, and that it's either a resolution to that effect or the bylaw.
Madam Mayor, just to clarify, I'm not here because I have any issue as the owner of St. Anne's.
No, I know, but
I'm here as a citizen. St. Anne's went to great pains to set out the framework for our growth over any number of years.
Yeah.
And it was the mayor at the time, Bill Finley, and Terry, that guided us through that process and suggested that we come up with a master plan in terms of what we might someday do. And that allowed the township to put that plan into the official plan, put the first stage of that plan into a site plan agreement. And also, given the fact that at the time I had very limited financial resources, the township agreed to allow us to operate not what was considered a bed and breakfast at the time, but basically before Airbnb existed, we were buying homes and renting them. So we have a collection of spa cottages, we call them, that are never occupied by me, the owner, never occupied by anybody other than transient guests of St. Anne's. And they created a bylaw that Jennifer has a copy of, and I have a copy of, that allowed us to do that within 2 kilometers of the spa. The property that I just bought in Grafton, Jennifer was quick to point out, is more than 2 kilometers from the spa, so it would require rezoning. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because the council of the day had the foresight to see the potential that St. Anne's had as a new direction, not a new, but a complementary direction for this township. At the time, the only business in this township was farming.
Yep.
This was an agri-based economy, and it still is. but they saw the opportunity for, and to their credit, great wisdom. This was before the regulation that Airbnb, or the structure that Airbnb provided for the traveling public and for homeowners. So they allowed that. The reason I did it at the time was I couldn't get commercial financing for the growth of my business. I still have trouble getting commercial financing. Banks are very tight-fisted when it comes to lending money to tourism operators, but I could go out and get a residential mortgage, buy a house, turn it into a accommodation, allow us to expand our business during the times that we were busy. And back then we were pretty much busy on weekends and throughout the summer. Now we're busy year round. So the only selfish thing that I guess I would put forward is, if we squelch the existing bed and breakfast operators in the vicinity of St. Anne's, that will be less people who come for a day spa and decide to spend the night here, as opposed to going to Whitby, to go to the new water park in Whitby and stay in any number of hotels and motels in the area. So and as I said, it's like saplings in the forest of tourism. These small operators someday become big operators.
Yeah.
Someday they become homeowners that don't need strangers in their home. But it's a form of slowly growing. And sure, there's going to be problems with that, just as there are problems when you have one neighbor who wants to have a campfire at night and some people drink beer and make noise, and another neighbor who wants to set off some fireworks to celebrate Canada Day, and another neighbor who wants absolute silence in their community. So that's my motive, is I think this is just a bad piece of legislation.
Okay. I'm actually happy to hear from you, because there was a little bit of discussion on that at the time, how it was going to affect other businesses, but to hear from you really explains it in a big way. I'm going to ask council if they have any questions. Councillor Phil?
Well, John, thank you for your comments.
Jim?
Or Jim, I don't agree with you. And frankly, I find your tone offensive. You know, so many times people get on their horses and run down politicians who have done the best that they can under the circumstances to try to provide good, solid, foundational bylaws for their communities. You know, you proceeded to hit us with the blame game, which again, I don't appreciate. Your comment about horrors, I can spend half an hour with you and tell you about the horrors of people's land values depreciating because they've got yahoos up and down the street who are renting to 10 plus people when the home was supposed to be for 4, with 6 cars in the yard, a bonfire going, fireworks illegally being set off because there's only 2 days a year that you're allowed to set off fireworks, music blaring, people drunk, people making comments about people who are living on that street, walking up and down the street in the evenings, making lewd comments about their dress or their dog, having their pets pooping on people's lawns up and down the street. And I could go on and on. Frankly, I feel that you have seen only one side of this issue, and that you have nicely painted your point of view with all the beautiful colloquial expressionism that you have at your disposal. We have worked hard on this process. You need to know that it's an ongoing process and that it will be modified as we move forward. But I do not believe that it will be modified to the point of disappearing. I, in fact, am hopeful that if a resident in our jurisdiction has several complaints against them, that they will actually lose their ability to permit and that it will be pulled. And I just, you know, property values depreciate for these people. They spent their whole life setting up to retire down here, and boom, what do they have? They have abusive people on both sides of them and absentee landlords that live in China or Japan or some other place in the world. And they buy these properties to invest and grow their capital. They don't care who's running that. They don't care who's there on a Saturday night. They're looking at the money and the appreciation of the value of the property, sir. And I could go on, but I just want you to know there's another point of view here, and I'm hoping that a man of your intellect will see it. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Thanks, Jim, for coming. And I have to tell you, I voted in favor of the bylaw, and it didn't come easy. It was probably the toughest decision that I've made in all of my terms of council, for those reasons that you listed. And you know, there are two sides, but overridingly, when we held our public meeting and when we got comments, it was about, you know, it was from people, as Councillor Phillip described, that were having difficulties. So I would say this bylaw is not like any bylaw, can be changed. And I hope that the incoming council takes you up on your offer of assistance with economic development and you know, assisting with attracting business here, because I think you have a wealth of knowledge. You certainly got experience, and we could use your assistance. So I'm just going to implore to anybody who's listening that is going to be elected, that I think I heard you say that you'd be happy to offer assistance. And I think that the direction needs to be economic development, because it's a really fine line that we walk between tourism and, as Councillor Phillip described. But we need it. We need tourism in this area, and yeah, and I don't want you to leave here without knowing that I don't think it was an easy thing for any of us to come to a decision on it. And it's good to hear from you, and it's always good to hear the other side. So thank you.
Anything further?
Okay.
No?
Through you, your worship. Thank you, Jim, for the presentation. The only exception I take to your comments is that this was dropped upon you. We did have a public meeting that was advertised for weeks and weeks for people to attend. We had a lot of people attend. I don't know why you didn't come to that, whether you didn't know about the meeting or whatever, but to insinuate that council just dropped it on people is not true. We did have a public meeting. There was a lot of people. I'm going to say there was 40 or 50 people there probably. And I agree with what Deputy Mayor Gibson saying. It was a hard decision, but we didn't hear anybody in opposition of anything that in fact, they came to us, Jim, and they wanted stronger than what we put in.
Can I just respond, Madam Mayor? I'm sorry, but I don't follow council. Perhaps I should. I'm more involved in elections than I've ever been since COVID. I was a school board trustee when I was 18 years old, so I appreciate the work that you do, and I appreciate the tone that you're using with me, Greg and Sherry. Mike, I'm sorry, but I don't appreciate your tone. I'm your employer. We're citizens, and you might take a page out of Pierre Poilievre's recent speech where he said that government works for the people, not the other way around. I've been at this for 32 years. And as I said at the outset, I'm the largest short-term rental operator in this municipality, if not in the province. I don't live in China. I don't live in Japan. I don't do it for my own personal benefit. I do it because I see the faces of the people who come to St. Anne's with joy in their eyes about the impact that coming to St. Anne's, but coming to Alnwick Haldimand has made in their lives. People, I don't know if you follow our website or our social media feed, but we cut down a tree the other day and we had thousands of people in tears about the impact that that tree had had on their lives over the times that they've come there. Our family has always been about sharing what we have with others who are less fortunate. Mike, I apologize for my tone, but I expressed at the beginning that I find this really upsetting. You could have reached out to me and said, we're having a public meeting. Any one of you could. And it's a public meeting that might affect you, because if this bylaw had gone one bit further, I'd be out of business. But as it is, I just think it's, yeah, it had to be a very tough thing for you to do. Many of the meetings that were called by council at the time filled this hall with people. I was at meetings where Bill Findlay had to break up fist fights between people in the community, and that was over the water business, the spa. People don't like change. People don't like a lot of things. And having to create bylaws under those circumstances is never easy. But I think this bylaw needs to be revisited. Perhaps it will be by the next council, depending on how the election turns out. But I certainly hope so, because there are a lot of people, vast majority of people. This couple here, for instance, who came to attend this meeting, Gary works for me and sees a lot of those people coming to St. Anne's and seeing the benefit of their visits to St. Anne's, but he's also a small business operator with a bed and breakfast in his own home. And he just sold his home and has bought another home and is caught in the middle of this bylaw. So I would suggest to you that despite the crowds that show up for public meetings, because there are some people who are very good organizers, the vast majority of bed and breakfast operators don't, and the vast majority of bed and breakfast customers don't match the description that Councillor Philip has given us of what a bed and breakfast or a short-term renter looks like. They're usually wonderful people just wanting to have a little slice of paradise. I have long-term residents who do all of the things that you described, and we don't have this kind of a bylaw to deal with them.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I think it's given us all something to think about as well. And as I said before, and as Sherry has said, this bylaw will be reviewed throughout at times, because there will need to be changes. Your business, very highly respected and promoted through the county. I just was at a meeting the other day and they were talking about St. Anne's. So you've taken the years to establish it. And I think, personally, I think with what you presented to us, can go back to our planner and economic development person. Jennifer Current is also economic development. And maybe she can find some places, or maybe we need to, or the new council needs to look at the actual established long-term businesses and how this bylaw is affecting you. I mean, it was a tough go at the time. I'm not taking that away from the council, because we did hear a lot and we did have an awful lot of problems. And we have to have a bylaw to be able to enforce certain things. So.
Understand. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry for my tone. I just, I don't talk often, but when I do, I talk a
That's
lot.
okay. Yeah,
Thanks.
understandable. Thank you. Do we need a motion on any of that? Or just to receive it? Okay. And make sure Jennifer, or she will get it anyway. Will she get those comments and whatnot? Oh, she's online. Okay, I didn't see her. Okay, council, I need a motion to receive it. To receive this presentation, and is there any direction you wish it to go? From Jim Corcoran, St. Anne's. Sherry?
I'll make a motion to receive the presentation, and I don't think that we can add anything more to it except to, staff are now aware about, the largest employer in the township's feeling. Obviously, there's people on council and in the audience that has an opportunity to make a difference moving forward. And I think what we need to take from Jim's presentation is that he's willing to have us reach out to him. And I think, that's something that staff have to remember, and in the incoming council, that we do maybe take time to think about how we collaborate. So just a motion to receive the presentation.
Okay. Second? Seconder? Counselor Hogg? All in favor? Carried. Sherry made the motion. Item 6 is approval of our minutes, August 18th and September 1st. And be it resolved that the regular council session minutes of August 18th, 2022 and September 1, 2022 be approved. Could I have a mover, please? Counselor Hogg, second. Counselor Philp, all in favor? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes? I have an item arising from the minutes, August 18th, and it's to do with the sale of the lot at New Watton. You're going to like this one, Mike.
I hope so.
So I did a little research. The people who started that subdivision, Edgar Benson and Bob, were Edgar Benson and Bob Marshall. And this is what I was told. There were 2 lots that were left as a security plan to the township, that the township could sell those lots for the purpose of digging, dredging the New Watton Sanctuary Pond and for fencing.
No way.
The subdivision agreement tells the location of these 2 lots. All the parties were in agreement. 1 lot had already been sold, and I'm not sure if it was 1990 or 92 or thereabouts. They worked with Lower Trent Conservation Authority and at that time got approval for the dredging, the first dredging of the pond. That sediment was removed. So Glenn Brown was the surveyor, and all the easements and all that original plan of subdivision was done in those days. So the sons were the ones who, of Mr. Marshall's, for that first lot, were the ones that released it for all that business, and that was all taken care of by them. So that is somewhere here in an agreement. That's what I was told, and the map of the subdivision was all left. I'm
Right.
sure Jennifer has it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So those things never get moved on to new councils.
That's a really
So
big piece.
I was told by somebody pretty reliable.
That's great.
Our next item is item 8, and it's a report from Dave Dawson, re the Roseneath Agricultural Society. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Alnwick Haldeman approve the Roseneath Agricultural Society application to have the fire department attend the fair for fire prevention, public education, display, and provide emergency services for the demolition derby and tractor pull. I can have a motion for that, please, to get it on the floor. Deputy Mayor Gibson, second. Councillor Hawk. Okay, you got the report. Any questions from council or comments? Chief Dawson, do you
Yes.
want to address this first?
It is all in the report. It's simply that the Roseneath Fair has reached out to ask for our services, just like in the past, and all I've done is identified based on their request what the cost is to the fire department, and then move that forward to council for information.
So council, any comments or Councillor Booth?
Dave, can you tell me the?
Can Greg unmute, please? Sorry.
Through you, your worship. Dave, can you tell me the actual part about the fire prevention, public education, is that a budgeted item that you have, the $1,125?
Yes, that's correct. We have about $5,000 in the budget for this year to do fire prevention and public education events. And that is where that would come out of. The other is the staff requirement for the demolition derby and the tractor pull.
Okay, so is that a budgeted thing?
No, that's not. That would come directly out of your volunteer firefighter wages.
Okay, thank you. So the comment I want to make is back in May 3rd, 2018, I researched, there was a letter from Al Mann, the fire chief at that time, that sent a letter to the fair board saying, and I'll copy it right off here, please be advised that the Alnwick Haldeman Municipal Council has conducted a review of all special events held in the township where the fire department has traditionally participated. This review was conducted in an effort to control spending. Now, there's a few council members on here that were here in 2018. I don't know if you can recall, but it was obviously discussed. And at that time, it was decided that the Alnwick A&H, would pick up half of the costs of stuff and half of them they wouldn't. So basically is they charged the fair board for the rodeo. They had a rodeo and they had an RCMP musical ride, which they charged them for. And the town didn't charge them for the demolition derby and the tractor pull. So this year, we don't have the rodeo, we don't have the RCMP ride. And I'm hoping that this council will look at from what they're asking us here, and I would hope that we're looking at least charging the fair board for at least one of these events, 50% of the cost of, either the $375 or the $500. They're asking for us to have the firefighters there with a pumper truck for their event. I think that they should be paying for that. That's my comment.
Any further comments? Deputy Mayor Gibson?
I do recall the conversation with Chief Mann, and I think, at the time, I'm not sure that we were all in agreement with charging for special events. I guess I go back, this is a historical event that we've supported with the fire department. It's good public relations. It's great for the firefighters to get out and meet the public and be a part of the community. And to me, I think asking the Ag Society to pay for half of $500 or half of $375 isn't a great deal of money to them, but I think it somewhat diminishes our relationship building within the community.
Any other comments? Councillor Phillips?
as I understand it, through the fire chief, that some of it is within his budget line and some of it isn't. And the part that isn't, I think, should be shared. And I'd be willing to share it, but I don't think that the township should be picking up the whole piece. So I would agree with Councillor Booth that, we can share it either the tractor, the demolition, or the, was it a tractor pull? Yeah, as a tractor pull. Yeah, that seems to be fair and reasonable to me.
Thank you. Anything further? Oh, Councillor Booth, sorry.
To your worship, just to make it clear, I mean, I have no issue with, we're going to have 2 staff there from 9 to 6, 9 hours per day times 2. So I have no issue with the $1,125, which is great for the fair that's been around, yes, for a long time. But I think using the excuse that the fair has been around a long time seems to be a line that's used all the time when they come to the town and they ask for stuff. So in 218, we sent a letter saying we're looking at trying to control spending. So all I'm asking is council, either they pay for the tractor pull or they pay for the demolition derby, one or the other. The $1,100 and something I have no issue with. That's something that was budgeted. The other 2 issues are not budgeted. And I find it ironic because the next piece of that we're going to from the fire chief is talking about fire department budget overages. So I think it's kind of unfair to council to just say that, you know what, we're going to let them have it for free. Oh, and Mr. Fire Chief, guess what? It wasn't budgeted, so find somewhere to pay for that.
Anything further? I have a comment as well, and of course, the fire prevention is so important, and the firefighters themselves have always liked to participate in whatever event the township has, whether it's Canada Day in Grafton, whether it's the fair in Roseneath, or whether it's, helping another municipality, and we have other municipal equipment that come into our fire prevention day at Roseneath, and that was very successful as well. And for this amount of money, I don't have an issue with it. And it's 3 days of promoting the fire department. And I know you don't like the historical stuff, Greg, but there's a lot of years where there's a lot of volunteer hours that nobody was paid anything. And I am sure that there will still be some there who won't be paid because that's the way they are. If they can be there and help, they will. And I think it's really good for the township to support events in the township under fire prevention. And our fire prevention budget started out in 2022 at 10,000. And it was one of the things that was cut down to 5,000. So, it's good promotion. And I don't think it's something that
So are you
many
saying?
ratepayers.
So are you saying
object
having the
to.
2 trucks there on the 2 things that's not fire prevention education? The education part, Mayor, I have no problem with at all. We're paying the $1,125. They're asking to have a pumper truck there and 4 people there in
Because
case
they
something.
have to be covered in case
So
something happens.
then please don't confuse it with
Sorry.
education and fire prevention, because it's not. They're 2 totally separate things that they're asking for a service from us.
Yes, well, in my opinion, I don't think those are too much for what they're asking. I'm in favor of it. So any other comments? Councillor Hawk?
I'm in favor of it too. Maybe for this year, and let's see another year how we donate to the fair. And if we have to donate more as a township for this type of thing, maybe we should, because it won't only be in in Roseneath, there's other community things that happen with the fire trucks too. So maybe we should have more donations to other, from the township to the fire department for other, to make sure everything is covered properly. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Any other comments? I'm going to call for the vote. I'll read it again. It moved by Deputy Mayor Gibson, second by Councillor Hogg. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Almac Haldeman approve the Roseneath Agricultural Society application to have the fire department attend the fair for fire prevention, public education display, and provide emergency services for the demolition derby and tractor pull. All in favor?
Can I ask for a recorded vote? please?
Yes, you can.
No.
Nay.
Yes.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, thank you. Item 8.2, this is another report from Chief Dave Dawson, September 15th, and these are overcharges on our fire budget. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Almac Haldeman accept the explanations from the fire chief for the overages of 4 budget line items for 2022, as well as the 2023 apparatus procurement plan. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Booth, second. Councillor Hawk. Comments, questions for the chief first? Any questions for Chief Dawson? Councillor Booth?
Through you, your worship, to the chief, just wanted to say thank you very much, chief, for a well detailed explanation of where all your above budget overages are. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from council? I have one for you, Chief Dawson.
Yes,
It's our practice and always has been that oftentimes line items that are unexpected expenses, we have no control over that. And then we have other expenses that we've had in the budget where they don't totally get used up in a year. And I'm just wondering if you can say how that's looking, because items can be moved, line items within one department's budget. So is that going to help us or predicted to help us with these overages within the fire budget by the end of the year?
that is something, your worship, that I can work on with Nicole, our treasurer. We can look at that from different perspectives. The one line that will definitely help us out there this year is our remuneration recouping line, where we're able to charge for some of the services that we provide. And that line item has done quite well this year. So I don't have any concerns right now with these overages. And I believe that, again, with the assistance of Nicole, that we can get that done.
Thank you. And it's, you know, with public works and fire, a lot of things with that equipment and weather and whatnot and calls, just, we don't have total control over that. I also like your plan that you've put in. I had to get my magnifying glass out to read the fine print, but I think that's really good with what's coming down the pike and what's coming down with asset management and what the province is sending to us. And to have that information is going to give another council help with decisions and what they're going to, how they're going to handle that and what they're going to be able to do. So that's good. Thank you. So I'm going to call for the vote on that motion. All in favor? Carried.
Can I apologize, but I'm not clear on what the motion is. Can you please repeat that? Can I ask for that?
It was, be it resolved that the council of the Township of Alnwick Haldeman accept the explanations from the fire chief for the overages of the 4 budget line items for 2022, as well as the 2023 apparatus procurement plan. So we're receiving that plan. That's something that you're going to be dealing with in future budgets, it appears.
That is correct. And
Yeah.
is that something that will go forward to the next council to discuss through the budget process? The reason that I ask is that there is a sense of urgency because we are behind when it comes to our certification requirements. And I would just like it to be seen as a priority with the next council and for understanding.
Okay, do we need to reword that for that option? Or this will automatically go. Okay. Pat assures us that it will be part of the budget process for 2023.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. Item 9 is the Treasury Department, and we have one item from Nicole. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Alnwick Haldeman received the report from the treasurer dated September 15th, 2022 regarding hydro at the old fire hall located at 9127 County Road 45 in Roseneath. Can I have a mover, please? Deputy Mayor Gibson and Councillor Hogg. Any explanations from you at this point, Nicole, or do you just want questions? If there is any.
Through you, Mayor. I think just questions. This was really just brought back to council at your request from the August 18th meeting. So,
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Booth? Not for Councillor Booth, but for Nicole from Councillor Booth.
Through you, your worship, here we go again, Roseneath Fair again. So looking at this report, what I'm understanding is since 1994, so for 42 years, the Roseneath Fair has been getting free electricity. That's what it is. So at my calculations, and I could be wrong, Nicole, give or take a few $1,000s, but even if we went by a very good low estimate of a monthly bill was say $25 a month instead of what you say here, 40 something, that means that the Roseneath Fair is used approximately almost $12,000 worth of taxpayers' money for the electricity for their fair. So to me, that's wrong. That's no different than me taking an extension cord and plugging it into my neighbor's place and using the electricity for free. So we can't do anything about what's already done. I think this council should be telling the Roseneath Fair that for the month of September and for the month of October coming up, and until this property is sold and something's dealt with that the Roseneath Fair should be paying for the electricity for that. There is no electricity used in the fire hall. There's no heat in there, nothing. Even the bulb outside is broken and long gone. So all this electricity that's being used is being used by them.
Go ahead, Sheriff. Deputy
Through
Mayor?
through you, and I don't know if anybody here can answer that, but this question, a clarification that all of the hydro taken from the old fire hall is used only and specifically for the Roseneath Fair for 3 days on that weekend. Because that seems like a lot of money for 3 days. And it's a monthly charge. Did I read that right, Nicole? There's been monthly charges to it. So it's not the fair. Maybe that's just a point of clarification that it isn't the fair.
Well, it would be all the regular charges that are on bills.
I can answer that for you. There is a monthly charge just to have a meter there.
Yeah.
But the Roseneath Fair, that's the only ones hooked up to that meter is the lights for the ball diamond or the soccer field or whatever, their canteen, the well, and I believe the place where they do the band and they have the beer and stuff like that.
The big
Yeah.
gazebo.
So even the monthly charge just to have it there, the meter there should not be borne by the taxpayers, right? None of that cost is ours. It's all for them
So you go
for
back.
42 years.
And it's never been disconnected from the old fire hall, which probably maybe it should have been, maybe it shouldn't have been, because for a number of years, even after that was closed, they still use it and for storage and whatnot. Maybe they don't need lights. And so that part of it for the fire department, there had to have been some costs there that we got the new one built anyways. And as you say, the meter charges and all the other charges. And in the day of it being built, it was the cheapest form of to do anything with was electricity. So how much is it you actually want them to pay? September is September 30th and October 1st and 2nd, and it was the fair board, the township, and the fire department that put that service in, is my understanding, originally.
All I'm asking for is now that we are aware of it, there's nothing we can do about the money that we've already paid, but now that we know for the month of September and for the month of October coming up, and until we sell the property, then they should be responsible for the hydro bill. Once the property-
In its entirety. Is that
Sure.
what you're saying?
Sure. So if it's only going to be, Nicole's report says it's on average of 40 something dollars. The October one goes up to 79 or 80 dollars because the fair's on. I don't think the taxpayer should have to pay for the fair coming up and the electricity that they're using right now.
It's council's decision. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
And through you, your worship, and I'm just going to speak on behalf of the residents of the township in the north end and those that are part of that community view the land there. They view the amenities there, the playground, the fair is part of the fabric of recreation and culture. And I don't have a problem asking them to pay moving forward, but it's not their fault that the township has picked up this cost for 42 years. That is, like it or not, that is historical agreement that was put in place and we're living with it now. So it is about moving forward, and I would be in favor of asking the Agricultural Society to pay for the electricity that they use, between now and when the fair is over and when that panel can be replaced. But, I think it bears repeating that, we've got various community centers, throughout the township, and, that community center of Alnwick Civic Center to the people in the Roseneath community includes that land and the hydro that services.
I can't believe, Deputy Mayor Gibson, you're saying that. I really can't believe that you're saying that and comparing it to other community centers. There was no historical agreement that it was free hydro. And the only reason it came out to us was because the property is for sale, that Barb Foreman sent a letter to us telling us, oh, listen, if you're going to sell that, you pay to have it moved, or the buyer, because we're getting electricity from there. So they knew about it.
Well,
We
they've
didn't
known
know
about
about
it because they were part of it and it was all prior to amalgamations.
Some of it was,
And-
20-something years was, and the last 22 wasn't.
So,
It just shows to me, really, Sherry, it shows to me of how it seems to be that anything for the north, the three people on this council that live up there keep saying that the Roseneath Fair is the fabric of society, give them a chance, it's a long time fair and everything like that. I understand it's a long time, it's a fair that's been around a long time and it's great for the community, but that doesn't mean the taxpayers have to pay for everything. We've
but
been
the three
paying-
people
Let me
from
finish,
the
please,
north,
Mayor.
Greg.
Let me
Okay,
finish and
go
then you
ahead.
can have your say. We
Apologize.
paid for the water for them. We had to stop it. We've paid for the electricity for them. We've had to stop it. We're in an agreement right now where we cut the grass and everything with them, which is a ridiculous agreement, which is costing us $10,000 a year. But nobody in the north in this council wants to stand up to them. And I don't know why. I'm just looking for to make sure that the taxpayers get a fair deal.
Okay, but I will just add, and you can accuse us, the three council members from the north in supporting the fair, but the three of us support everything else in this municipality as well.
Untrue.
No, it's not untrue.
Did we not have a request
Recreation.
from the men's shed that was in Centerton that came to ask for
Yes, we
something and
did.
we turned them down?
We didn't turn them down. We had the fire department and the building inspector go and look at that building. We were we were supporting them with, they were having meetings and breakfasts at Centerton. And we were ready to move, or we didn't have final decisions made, but we weren't, I don't think we were showing that we were against them. And then COVID hit
And we
and that
also,
fell apart.
we also had a business come to us, the Lass and Ladle, that wanted to continue to rent the facility at the Grafton Arena. And it was turned down because we are not going to help out anybody. We're not going to, I find it very funny that when we're talking, oh, it's only a few dollars, but when it comes to somebody else, those dollars really, I'm going to say enough.
The Lawson Ladle was a private business and it was, she rented that. There was no taxes being paid on that and
There's
it
no
was
taxes
supposed
being
to be
paid by the Roseneath Fair either. We don't get
There's no
one
taxes
dime.
being paid by a church either, or schools or whatever. So,
Draw it back, move the motion.
okay,
Just
yes,
just through you and just one more thing, Counselor Booth, and I respect and I can own that. But I think you should do some research through Eastern Ontario and even rural Ontario to see what municipalities offer to their agricultural societies and why. And I think you'll be surprised that many rural municipalities support fully their local agricultural societies.
okay, so
So there's a motion.
the- are we just receiving and filing this now? Or receiving this report?
Through the mayor.
Receive the report from the treasurer dated September 15th regarding hydro at the old fire hall located at 9127 County Road 45 in Roseneath. That's the motion.
If I may, through the mayor, I believe that the deputy mayor
Made the
made a
motion.
motion to have Roseneath Fair pay for the 2 months or whatever it is before the sale of the property. Am I correct?
No, that wasn't in the original
That-
motion. That was in the
Was that a friendly
discussion.
amendment then?
That was a discussion, but I will amend that motion that we receive the report and ask the Roseneath Agricultural Society to pay for hydro usage. And Nicole, I don't know what the billing date is, and I think I'm not sure I can put proper dates to that motion without knowing what the billing dates for. that-
As long as they pay for the fare is the main thing. Right? That's what I think we should make the motion for. You know, have the billing date happen before the fair so that they pay the fare.
They pay.
Okay? I would go for that.
So would it be, to make it simple, would it be fair to say, because we don't know what that would be?
1st of October or
That, well,
September
the
30th?
fair's the 30th and the October 1st and 2nd.
So
They'll
something
be
like maybe
set.
September 28th, something like that.
What about pay the 1 month, $44?
No, because if you look at Nicole's report there, usually the October one is $70 or $80. It spikes up then. I don't see why they can't pay for September and October. They're the only ones using it right now. Who else is using the electricity?
I think the deputy mayor
Okay.
said that.
So the amendment to that motion, or that motion would be that as close to billing date from September and October as the treasurer can ascertain. Because I don't know if you, Nicole, if you can prorate and do that calculation. Is it, probably doesn't run from the 1st to the 30th.
Yeah, through the mayor. So most of our hydro bills are cut off mid-month. I'd have to go back and look and see when the last one was cut off. So depending on what you're trying to do, if you're trying to have us bill on a going forward basis, I would just say effective as of this date. If you're trying to put something in just to cover the fare, then you might just want to say that, you know, the hydro billing that includes the dates of the fair, and then I can definitely make sure that we're picking up the right billing period.
Going forward is the simplest.
Yeah, but you don't know how long you're going forward for with no use. Depends on the sale. So
So I'll tell you what my motion will be, that we receive Nicole's report and that that the hydro bills effective from this date until, you know, the October cutoff be absorbed by the Roseneath Agricultural Society or the Fair Board. I'm not sure who pays that.
so September 15th
So it's
to
basically, it's
mid-October.
going to be basically one billing period. And then I think we have to ascertain what happens with the old fire hall and that property and the panel, and then make a decision about after that, who's going to
What's
be,
happening.
yeah, how that is expensed.
Actually, that's good thinking. That's a better idea because it's a two-stage approach, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Well,
So I'll support that motion.
and that hydro could actually, once the fair's done, be cut off after that date, if seeing how things go. Jim was the seconder for that motion. Are you okay with that? Okay. Everybody's got it? You reading it back, Pat, or me? Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Almac Haldeman received the report from the treasurer dated September 15th, 2022 regarding hydro at the old fire hall located at 9127 County Road 45 in Roseneath. And further, that the Roseneath Agricultural Society pay the hydro from whatever the date is, September 15th to mid-October, to the mid-October date, Nicole, that you get the bill, I guess.
Nicole,
That billing cycle.
That bill, yeah, okay, the billing cycle, September, October.
Covering I would say that billing cycle covering the dates of the fair.
Okay.
That may make it easy in the motion.
Okay, you're fine with that as the seconder? Any further comments? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay, item 10. This is a report from Troy Gilmore on our policy review. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Alnwick Haldeman received the report from Chief Administrative Officer dated September 15th regarding our Alnwick Haldeman policy review. Mover? Councilor Phil, seconds. Deputy Mayor Gibson? Sure. Okay. So we need to book,
I'll give everybody just
Okay, you go
a
ahead.
summary. So through you, your mayor. And on a lighter note, we'll talk policies. As everyone knows, I brought the policy issue up, I believe it was in April, just stating that our policies needed to be updated and current with legislation. We did contract out HR Downloads, who they did receive all our existing policies. They were all over the map. I'm free to say they're like 2011, just all over. So I have just received the policy. It is quite a thick manual, but they did say that our policies are great. We did talk about condensing them and making it maybe a easy reading document. However, when you do that, something could be missed or whatever. So these are really detailed. It's thick. It's a lot of reading. But I do believe, and they also believe, that everything is covered within our policies. There was a number of changes with legislation, and they are current. I still think that we need to look at a couple of them. Therefore, COLA being one, just so you know, COLA was not touched. That was a big discussion last year, and COLA has not been.
gentlemen, people can't hear.
COLA has not been changed in this policy. I'm not saying it shouldn't be changed. It should be discussed.
Mhm.
That's why I'm giving this document to council. There'll be a link on our website. I have to give Yolanda the link and for public to see as well. And it will be on there tonight probably, or tomorrow morning at the latest. But I think we need to set a time. It's thick. It's a lot of work, but I would like to see this council approve the document, spend some time, go through it, sit down, discuss it, and have it approved so new council can come in with an approved up-to-date policy manual. I'm not saying that the new council cannot come in and change it, but I think it's nice that they can come in and start with an up-to-date document. So I was hoping that maybe our next council, October 6th, maybe we can come in a few hours earlier to discuss it. Doesn't leave you a lot of time to go through it, but
We'll just
Time
put
is
our
running
novels
out.
aside. We'll put our novels aside and
yeah.
read this.
So, but and I don't want to start flipping through it now. I want everyone to take it, read it. I'll get the link online. I just really wanted to give you an update what has happened, and it's been a lot of work, quite a few changes with mostly legislation and stuff like that. But there are some that definitely still need to be looked at, and we will talk about it as a group. And I will say Nicole, she has reached out to just about everybody, or she has reached out to everybody in the surrounding area when it comes to COLA. So we will have a really good discussion on that, because I do think that's the one that, hit a nerve or whatever last year. But we can talk about it as a group and, go from there. But so everyone has the document, and if we can set a date that we can go over it a little more in detail, because it's too time consuming to go through it obviously right now. So
So Troy and I were talking and we were thinking our next meeting is October 6th. If council could come in the morning, and that would give us time, if we needed a bit more time for the following week. We don't have a council meeting on the Thursday, but perhaps, if we need a couple more hours, either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, we could use that time. If you're in favor of that, or if your schedules will work with that, October 6th morning. You okay? Okay.
So Troy, will you be delivering to my house a fresh brown bag of coffee for the next 4 nights?
it's easy reading,
Okay.
easy reading.
So what do we start, 9:30? 8 o'clock?
9:30 is good, if everyone else is good at 9:30.
Okay, so we'll start, hopefully, as long as it goes fine with everybody, nothing else comes up, 9:30 on October 6th, and do the morning with the policy review. And if that agenda is not very big, I know it'll be a long day, but maybe touch up the rest of the day if we don't have a huge agenda. Can we do that, Pat? Just take it on? After the council meeting, October 6th, if it's not a huge council meeting, we can maybe continue for a couple hours?
Yep. Is
Okay,
there enough days in that period to have a public meeting?
Yep.
Yep, okay. You know what I mean? You've cut me on that before. Well, you have to leave so many days.
Yeah, that'll work fine.
Yeah, okay.
That's right.
okay. So all in favor? Carried. Item 11 is communications, correspondence from Scott Berry, Communications Officer, Capital Projects, Northumberland County, and this is the Drive Safe campaign. Be it resolved that the correspondence from Scott Berry, Communications Officer, Capital Projects, Northumberland County, dated August 31st, 2022, read Drive Safe campaign be received, and further that council, we need some direction here. Because there's signs to go up in our area. And these are the signs that are the sort of the second signs from Slow Your Roll.
Oh, yeah.
They're reminder signs. So that the sign, I guess that's what they're asking for, those signs to be put up. Yeah, we approve that. Yeah. And with the location. So the sign up in AH and the location. What's that location? You got it in front of you there. Okay. Mover? Councilor Burr, second. Deputy Mayor Gibson, all in favor? Carried. Correspondence from Tay Valley Township. Be it resolved that the correspondence from Tay Valley Township dated August 31, 2022, supportive resolution, OMAFRA Ontario Wildlife Damage Compensation Program administrative fee be received, and further that need a decision, council, as to whether or not you support this. It's the increase in fees for the farm animals that are the damage that's done by wildlife to farms or wildlife damage claims typically exceed the administration cost of $50. So they're asking for more money for that up that $50 fee. Have a mover. Deputy Mayor Gibson, second. Councillor Hogg. Any further comments on that? that we support?
I think we need to support this and circulate it
Yeah.
to
It's not
all the
much,
appropriate
really.
agencies. No,
It could be triple, really.
Yeah. So the direction is to support and circulate it to the other municipalities. All in favor? Carried. This correspondence, I'll just read off. I'll just read the motion. It's item 11.3. Be it resolved that the following correspondence we received and filed. AMO Communications dated August 29th, 2022. AMO policy update remarks to Standing Committee on Bill 3, strengthening public health, increasing and preserving purpose-built rental housing strategy. AMO Communications dated September 1, 22, AMO watch file. AMO Communications dated September 8th, 2022, AMO watch file. And Jamie Kovacs, Executive Director, Fire Marshal's Public Safety, Fire Safety Council dated September 1, 2022, Safety Community Project Zero campaign. Could I have a mover, please? Counselor Booth, second. Counselor Hogg. Any comments or questions on any of these? Counselor Booth?
Through you, your worship, to the fire chief. So that's good news, Dave, that Project Zero is actually going to donate 144 CO2 and smoke detectors worth about $8,600. Sure if Dave's there.
Is he there? No.
Well, it's good news anyway. It talks about there's going to be almost $9,000 worth of CO and smoke detectors donated that he can hand out.
Oops. Don't know what I did. There it is. Yes, it is. Call for the motion. All in favor? Carried. Item 12, 12.1 is a bylaw number 106, 2022. Being a bylaw to authorize the signing and execution of an agreement between the corporation of the Township of Alma Calderman and Gray J Developments. And I'll read the full motion. Be it resolved that bylaw number 106-2022, being a bylaw to authorize the signing and execution of an agreement between the corporation of the Township of Alma Calderman and Gray J Development Inc. to carry out and complete investigative. Now I can't get it. Got my tongue all wrapped around. Investigatory work and studies within the road lands for the subdivision lands as described in the subdivision agreement registered as instrument number 113749 on October 1, 1981, be read and deemed to be passed this 15th day of September 2022. Mover? Don't ask me to read that one again. Second. Deputy Mayor Gibson? Any questions or comments, concerns? All in favor? Carried. Announcements and notice of motions. Councillor Hogg?
I have nothing at this time.
Okay. My turn. The Via 651 train rally and was canceled due to the Queen's passing. And September 19th, the Northumberland, the commute, the progress on that, there was going to be a rally as well, and that's also canceled. Not September, I think it was September 19th. So I can just send you out an email when I find out from the county when those dates will be brought back. That's waiting for David Pacini to be able to come back. And have we all toured the new Public Works building? Did you get there as well? Good. Just to report, I think everybody will be pretty happy with it. It looks good. And I think the job's being well done. Brian was happy that we all got to see it, and the floor should soon be going down in it, and we'll all gather at once and see close to the final build. And you have something to say.
Just on that point, I just don't want it to be forgotten, and very, very seldom do I compliment the guy to the right of me, but this all started back with this gentleman right here, and I do appreciate it.
Yes, it did. I think it was, he came in 2012, he started in 2013.
Or sooner. Yeah.
And I'd like to also mention, I probably should have done it at the start, so I didn't write it down, but the passing of Queen Elizabeth II and her service being September 19th, 6 a.m. And just a comment that I'm sure she'll be missed after 70 years. All my life, she's been queen, so just need to acknowledge the fact that this lady will be very missed around the world. Deputy Mayor Gibson.
Thanks. I don't know what Councillor Philip was going to report on with the library board, but I'm just going to mention a few things, and then because they're very busy. Mike, if I've forgotten anything, please pick up on it. They are doing trick or treat at all of the branches on October 29th during library open hours. So they're looking for donations of Halloween candy and treat bags between now and the 25th of October. So if you can help in any way to drop those off. November 5th, there's a craft and bake sale that they're hosting at Centerton Community Center, and they're looking for donations of baked goods. I told them I'd donate Halloween candy instead of baked goods, and everybody was happy with that. On Friday, November 4th, or Saturday, November 5th. So things like cookies, squares, tarts. And they are, it looks like the outdoor Christmas market is going to be going ahead. And the library will be participating in that on December the 3rd. The only other thing I was going to mention, and probably one of you we're going to mention it too, is that St. George's Anglican tonight in Grafton is holding a fundraiser for Ukrainian families in the community. And they're encouraging walk-ins for a pulled pork dinner that you can do takeout, starting at 4:30, and I think it ends at 7.
Okay. Councillor Booth.
I see the mayor's jumped right over me for probably good, for probably good reason. I just want to thank Deputy Mayor Gibson for covering the bases for me. I just simply had a library report and she touched on it very nicely, so thank you. So that's it for me.
Councillor Booth.
Yes, just one. This is through you, your worship, to Nicole, the treasurer. I'm just wondering, Nicole, we're getting close to the date again for budget. Will the town be sending out letters to the groups that got donations and that from us, because they have to have a form filled out back to us by October 15th?
Through you, Mayor, I actually do have that on my to-do list for tomorrow to get those out. I will be revising the applications for the 2023 year and sending those out. Oh, what I was thinking, I don't know whether it's been done in past, as well as the application will be updated, and I'll have it put on our website as well.
And you'll make sure everything is time dated and stamped, so we don't have any issues with groups saying that they handed it in and we didn't get it?
Correct.
Thank you.
And I'm wondering, Nicole, if that should be extended a couple of weeks, because it's more apt that a new council will be looking after the budget. If they're going out mid-September. Their groups will have to have their meetings, so it's not a big deal, but the end of October or November 1st.
That's entirely up to council. We could definitely extend that. We won't be meeting for budget until new council is in place. So that is an option if council so wishes.
I think it's a good idea because a month is, it gives them time to do their work on their end as well. Can I have a motion?
So to
then
the end of October then?
Yeah, October 31st.
Sure.
So if it's extended, that's 6 weeks, October 31st.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Councillor Booth, second by Councillor Hawk. All in favor? Carried. Okay, instead of going into closed session right now, our second delegation is here, Jim Cunningham. We have you up to the mic here, Jim. And this presentation is regarding livestock guardian dogs and herding dogs, as there's been requests for the municipalities to do bylaws. Jim is a person who's very up on the dogs and the effects on the dogs, having been a breeder of husky dogs and raising them and breeding and raising Australian shepherds. So I'll just need the motion here first, Jim. Be it resolved that council permit Jim Cunningham to take the floor and make a presentation regarding livestock guardian dogs. Can I have a mover? Councillor Philip, second. Councillor Hogg. Okay. All in favor? Carried. Okay, Jim, you sent some stuff into us here and we'll let you go ahead and
Okay.
speak.
Good afternoon, council. I'm here to update you on the new PAWS Act, which is the Provincial Animal Welfare Services Act of 2019. It was updated this year on July the 1st, 2022. This act now has specific regulations for any dogs that are kept outdoors. Definition of an outdoor dog. I'm not going to read the whole act to you. I'm going to just cover the portions that are shaded in gray for you. The definition of an outdoor dog is a dog kept in outdoor containment for a continuous period exceeding 60 minutes without direct outdoor presence or supervision by its owner or custodian. This means that anybody that lives in the province of Ontario that allows their dog into their backyard for more than 60 minutes unsupervised has to follow this new policy. I take you down to 4 section B, where it says the dog kept outdoors must have continuous access to water that is not frozen. Okay, this is impossible to comply with. The new document out from the government that have guidelines say that you can use heated water bowls, heated buckets, heated fountains. I purchased all these items last January and did a study at my house in Centerton. 21 out of the 30 days in January 2022, when I come out in the morning, the frozen water buckets and bowls and fountains were not working. They were frozen solid. So they do not work. According to the government, they say that they do, but they do not work. During the process of creating this act, we had the University of Guelph head professor of animal science department state, to meet the physiological needs, dogs must be watered at least twice a day. Dogs fed twice a day should be offered water during and after eating. Dogs fed once each day should be offered water during or after their meal, and again 10 to 12 hours later. Dogs should also be watered before working and shortly after training and racing or working sessions. In section 4, under number 6, I have highlighted the word mud. It says dogs kept outdoors must be groomed as necessary to avoid matting of dogs' coats and the accumulation of ice or mud on the dog's coats or under the dog's paws. 2 years ago, there were dogs confiscated here in the province of Ontario, and they were charged with dogs not being groomed appropriately. The one thing that they didn't bring to the forefront during the prosecution is that the dogs had been outside for 36 hours straight. It had rained for 36 hours. The dogs were removed because they had mud on their legs. Comment by the supervisor of inspectors. We asked, like, obviously the dogs have to leave the dog boxes to go out and pee and poop and relieve themselves and everything else. If it's been raining for 36 hours, the ground that they're running around in is going to be muddy. They're going to end up with mud on it. We said, you need to use common sense in some of these situations. The comment back from the head inspector, supervisor of inspectors, is that we would use common sense when enforcing these new bylaws. That inspector was then asked, okay, so what about the Inuit dog in North Bay that you have given an order to have an insulated doghouse? Is that common sense? We're talking about a dog that has been born up on the Northern Arctic, has a coat for the Northern Arctic, and you bring it to Southern Ontario and you still require an insulated doghouse for this dog. The comment from the chief inspector was the case is still under investigation and that she had no comment. C 4.2 C section says all dog houses now have to have an insulated roof in the doghouse. The study shows that 32 to 76% of the front wall of a doghouse is missing because that is the dog door. The dog houses need a door for the dogs to go in and out. There are no stores in Ontario that sell dog houses with insulated roofs. We called 12 major dog food stores, 4 major hardware stores, Canadian Tire, and surveyed 72 different websites on the internet. No such house is available for purchase. So that means now you have to build your own doghouse in order to comply with the new act. Also under section F, it says, is of size and design to permit that all dogs that regularly use this shelter to turn around, lie down, and their legs extend to the full extent and stand with their heads held to normal height when all dogs are occupying the shelter at the same time. So if you have a large breed dog that's 32 inches tall at the head, that means your house has to be 32 inches wide, 32 inches tall, 36 inches long. That dog, when sleeping curled up in the doghouse, uses 1/3 of the area of that doghouse. So that means in the wintertime, 2/3 of that area of the doghouse is surrounded by cold, air. Big dog houses don't keep dogs warm. Under section F, we go back to containing bedding. Okay, it must have at least 3 inches thick of bedding, including the summertime. Most people use straw for bedding in their dog houses. If you have 3 inches of straw in your doghouse in the summertime and it stays there for the whole summer and everything else, you now have the straw biodegrading and it can also release heat from breakdown of the straw inside the doghouse. It says that the bedding inside the house must be clean, dry, and unsoiled. So that means that after every rain, you would have to change the wet or muddy doghouse. Change the wet or muddy straw in that doghouse after every rain. 4.3, the doghouse must be, 4.3, a tether. Now for a tether, what they stipulate is it's a length of chain cable from a stationary object to the collar of the dog is what they classify as a tether. So it says a tether that is used on a dog that is kept outdoors must, under D, be of sufficient length to permit a dog to move at least 3 meters measured in the horizontal direction from the point at which the tether is attached to the fixed object. We had a professor from the University of Purdue come forward and testify that if you have a dog on a 3-meter tether, that means that that dog can actually run 6 meters from one side of the tether
past the tether to the other side of the tether. Most dogs that are hunting, sledding, anything like that, that are sports-minded dogs, in running that 6 meters, at the end of the 6 meters, they will reach a force of 2,300 pounds per square inch at the end of that tether. That is enough to cause spinal damage and or death by snapping the dog's neck. Number 4.43 says if a dog is equal or greater than 40 centimeters in height, but under 70 centimeters of height, and the total of this housing pen must be at least 10 square meters. So that means as a medium breed dog, you would have to build yourself a pen. There are no commercial dog pens for sale that are large enough. And this was checked at Co-op, Canadian Tire, the dog food stores, and any hardware stores also. So that's the major parts that we had problems with. Now you ask, how do I know this? I was part of the technical table that reported to the advisory committee that reports to the Solicitor General's office. The table included animal behaviorists, social psychologists, professors of canine studies, head of animal study departments of universities, and 3 dog owner groups, totaling 24 people. The technical committee reports to an advisory committee that has 9 organizations on it. Of those 9 organizations, 4 of them are animal rights organizations. We tried to get on the advisory committee and were declined. It was strictly these other 9 organizations. Our suggestions were overruled by the advisory committee, even though we were supported by academic reports, produced research data, and actual witness data. These animal rights organizations have statements on their websites that say they will have, they're working towards a plant-based sectors by 2030. No more meat for the consumption by humans or animal feed. It also states that this includes, ending federal subsidies to phasing out of animal use sectors. This includes all sectors using animals for sport, competition, tourism, and entertainment. So no more dog shows, flyball, obedience trials, dog driving trials, fall fairs, or TV shows involving animals. They also want to abolish the existing anti-gag legislation and fines and sentencing that may exist as unconstitutional. So they want to take away your constitutional rights to freedom of speech. The animal rights organizations, their objectives throughout this whole exercise was to inconvenience, make it unattainable and costly so that you would have a dog, so that you could not have a dog as a companion. It has been proven by the animal welfare services inspectors do not use common sense during their execution of the act. And I have been told by a retired inspector that the animal welfare services inspectors are to enforce the act to the letter of the law and let the courts decide. The animal tribunals will not go against the letter of the law because they are hired by the provincial government and want to keep their jobs. A court case, ACRB 13192, and the following case after that, the statement from the chairperson there said the regulations provide specific rules for standards of animal care and we cannot go against them. The inspectors do not use common sense when enforcing the law, and the tribunal chairpersons are afraid and unable to use common sense against written law. The law is now written so that people living in Ontario cannot comply with these new regulations within the Provincial Animal Welfare Services Act. Having been a dog owner in Elmwick, Haldeman Township for over 35 years, I have raised, lived, and taken care of hundreds of dogs. And I now live in nightmare every day that the animal welfare services could walk through my door and take my dogs because I cannot comply with these new regulations. That is my presentation. Are there any questions on it? The only other statement that I have to say is the herding breeds are exempt as far as the dog houses, because the herding breeds in the sheep herders was recognized that the dogs do sleep with the animals, and the animals are used to keep the dogs warm, so they're exempt from the insulated roofs and insulated dog houses.
We also have a letter from the Ontario sheep farmers, so they explain quite a bit with that too. I'm sure you've
Yeah.
seen that.
They were one of the, there was 4 groups on the technical committee. The Sheep Farmers Association, Sled Dog Association, Sporting Dog Association, and Mush with Pride from Alaska. Other than that, it was all academics and animal rights organizations.
Any questions, council? Councillor Hogg?
Yes, I just like to comment, Jim. I'm also a beef farmer and I belong to the Northumberland Cattlemen's Association. And we have been discussing this for the last 6 months. And the rules and regulations that they want to impose on all the cattle industry are so ridiculous and so stringent that they are trying to force out all the cattle breeders and dairymen, everything, that they want totally vegetarian everything. And I don't know, we've been fighting it and we've talked to our MP, but we haven't got nowhere so far. They won't, they cannot sit down and talk about anything. Just like you say, the gag order. It's all one-sided and nobody else has an opinion.
I contacted our MP, Mr. Patini, 3 times, asking him to return my phone calls, and I have never received a return phone call from him. I called him in January, I called him in December, I called him in January, I called him in February, prior to this new act being approved, and I never got a return phone call from him.
Well, we've had him on Zoom when we were talking about this, and he said that their hands at the moment are almost tied because of it, because of the gag order, and it's going to have to go to a higher court, he says, before anything can be done. And I don't know why, with all of the regulations of the University of Guelph and OMAP, why they don't carry on them and still have those rules and bylaws overridden without any people's,
Because what is happening now in the world as far as animal rights go is the animal rights organizations have become so big in the United States and in Canada
in Europe too.
and in Europe also.
Yes.
They are multi-million-dollar organizations. They are buying shares in corporations so that they can become board members, so that they can vote against some of these animal organizations that are sponsored and things like that.
The Bill Gates of the world.
This is what's happening. We see it all the time in the sled dog community. We're losing sponsors like crazy because these people are becoming board members and bringing up when the vote comes, they have the vote dismissed and stuff like that. There is one organization that's working its way across Canada, backing all these new regulations for the animals because, and we know this, they want to do away with sled dogs. They don't believe in sled dogs. And she started in the East Coast and she's working her way across Canada from province to province to try and get these regulations passed. Once Ontario passed them, now she's got somebody to back her. Well, we've already gotten past in Ontario. Everybody there agreed with it. Everybody didn't agree with it. But I wanted to make sure that you guys understood. When I started this process on behalf of the Sled Dog Organization, I was backing the sled dogs. After the second meeting, I realized this affected everybody in the province of Ontario. Not just sled dogs, not just sporting dogs, not herding dogs or anything. This affects anybody that has a dog and lets them outside for more than 60 minutes. You have to now comply with this new act in the province of Ontario. And you can't comply with it.
So I have a Newfoundland dog.
Mhm.
Loves the winter and the snow.
Yes.
One of her favorite things is to lay out when it's snowing, all, in a ball. And, calling her at times, she really doesn't want to come in. She loves it. And if we ever had an insulated doghouse for her,
It's
Probably might have the neighbor's dogs, but she wouldn't go in.
it's counterproductive because for dogs that have double coats, when the wintertime comes, they end up sleeping outside because the dog houses just
Yeah.
are so warm that they don't want to be inside of them.
Yeah.
And my guys are, I don't have Siberian Huskies anymore.
Oh, they were beautiful, the ones you had.
My guys slept outside in the wintertime. They curled up in a ball, just like you see on movies and stuff like that. They didn't sleep in their dog houses. The only time they went in their dog houses was when it was like really blowing or really wet, and they would go in their dog houses. Other than that, they'd sleep outside all winter.
To get out of the wind more so than anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sherry.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate the education. What are you hoping for from us?
From you guys, I'm just here for information. That's all. Is to let you guys know that this has been passed by the provincial government, no matter how hard we tried. We just could not stop it from being passed. So I just wanted you guys and council to know that this is a new law, and anybody that has a dog in the township of Haltman, Elmwick is susceptible to this law now.
Will you be taking your education anywhere else?
Not unless somebody asks me. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here to educate, but we went through it went through the review board for the province and everything else. I don't know how many comments they actually got, but there was no advertisement whatsoever that these laws were being changed from the Solicitor General's office, none whatsoever.
Well, thank
So-
you.
So if we chose to do anything, we could write to the other municipalities and circulate it. But build a case for being aware of this, I would think. I mean, Jim's got 3 dogs over there. They're nice dogs.
Yeah, they sleep outside. I got border collies. They don't want to come in the house.
It's not just that, it's just, if you put the dog out for more than 60 minutes in January, you've got to go out every 45 minutes to an hour and change the water bowl because it's frozen. And the electric ones that they suggest don't work under -15. They don't work. And now you're supplying electricity into your dog kennel for your dog to electrocute itself. And they say, oh, the cords are wrapped in steel and the dogs can't. I can bring in a dog tomorrow and show you the burn mark on the side of the dog's face from chewing on the cord that was wrapped in the coil. They don't work. And if that dog is standing in a water puddle in its kennel while it's chewing on the cord, it can electrocute itself.
Yeah, there's lots to it.
There's a lot to it. And unfortunately, other organizations have more pull than what individual organizations that dog owners belong to have.
We're the bad guys.
I guess, yeah.
Well, it's even taken the pleasure of a dog from a family by the sounds of things. That
Ultimately, their goal is to not have people owning dogs.
and where are all the dogs going to be? They
That was a question that was asked.
they
What are we
won't.
supposed to do? If we can't tie our dog up on the tether, what do we do? Just let the dog run loose?
Well, you won't even be able to have a dog.
That is that possibility, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jim. Do we want to report back from staff on this, on something we could do, like to send
Well,
a letter to MPP Pacini or further?
I just wondered, and Jim, you've left your seat now, but how does the change in that act affect our bylaw? And how that is going to be enforced locally?
Yeah,
It's a provincial regulation, so provincial regulations will take jurisdiction over your municipal bylaw. You don't have to change your bylaw. Even if you change your bylaw and go against the provincial act will take jurisdiction over your municipal act.
Yeah.
Your municipal bylaw, so there's not much you guys can do about it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've already done that. Okay, well, it's good to have the awareness. Do we need a motion to receive it now as information? Could I have a motion then to receive Jim Cunningham's presentation for information? Counselor Hogg, second. Counselor Phil, all in favor? Carried. Okay, our next item is item 14, and we're moving into a closed session. It won't be a recess now to the closed session, as Jim was here early enough to speak, so we'll be finished when the closed session's over. That council of the Township of Almac Haldeman will be going into a closed session under section 2392 to consider personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Litigation, we have 2 items, or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. And K, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, with the CAO, acting clerk, deputy clerk, CBO, MBEO, planning assistant, and deputy fire chief by law enforcement officer remaining in attendance at 2:36 p.m. We have 2 minutes.
Yes, I need.
Okay, you go first.
Sorry,
Oh,
Madam Mayor. Yeah, we
I
do
need
need a
a
motion.
mover. Counselor Booth and Deputy Mayor Gibson. All in favor? Carried.